A very good morning, students. Myself, Rajni Sharma. In the previous lecture, we study about the democratic constitution in South Africa, struggle against apartheid, the meaning of apartheid, and the segregational policy adopted by the Europeans in South Africa, and South Africa towards a new constitution. And with the new constitution of South Africa, actually, the South African example is a good example and a good way to understand why we need a constitution and what do constitutions do. Now, again, the meaning of constitution. The constitution of a country is a set of written rules that are accepted by all people living together in a country. Constitution is the supreme law that determines the relationship among people living in a territory and also the relationship between the people and government. Now, why there is a need for the constitution? A constitution does many things. First, it generates a degree of trust and coordination that is necessary for different kind of people to live together. As you all know that India is a diverse country. There is a diversity on the basis of language, color, caste, creed, sex, different social groups, and that's why there was a need to generate that trust and coordination among all the diverse groups, and this is only possible with one constitution. Second, it specifies on how the government would be elected and who will have the power and the responsibility to take important decision. And our constitution also mentioned about that how the government would be elected and who will have the power enjoyed by the politicians and the responsibility to take important decisions. Everything is clearly specified in our constitution. Third, it lays down limits on the power of the government and tells us about the rights of the citizens. It means our constitution not only give power to our rulers but it also limits the powers of the government and tell the people about the basic rights, the fundamental rights of the citizens. Next point, it expresses the aspirations of the people about creating a good society. Our constitution also expresses what it expresses the aspiration, what we desires, because with the changing in the time there is a change in the aspirations of the people. That's why with this we came to know about that why there is a need for the constitution. Now our next topic is making of the Constitution of India. It was not easy for the framers of our constitution to draw a constitution because of the following reasons. First, India was a large country which was inhabited by various diversified communities. During our independence, our country was divided among 563 princely states, approximately 563 princely states, and that was the major challenge in front of the constitutional framers. Second problem, India had just become independent from the colonial rule, and Indians had experienced the pain and trauma which was related to the partition of the country. During our independence, there was a bloodshed. India, there was a partition between India and Pakistan, and the people faced at that time the pain and the trauma. Next, the British had drafted the instrument of accession according to which the princely states were free to decide. British give this power to the Indians that if they wanted to remain as a part of India or join Pakistan or to remain independent. And this was a major threat to the unity of our country. Princely states were totally free whether they wanted to remain with Pakistan or with India, or if they wanted to remain independent, then they can. Last point is the framers of the constitution also had anxiety about the present and the future of the country. And that's why our framers, our constitutional makers had this anxiety about the present situation of the country, and there was a need to decide at that time the future of the country. Now, the path to constitution. Our constitution informally had begun to take shape during the later years of the British rule. In 1928, Motilal Nehru and 8 other Congress leaders had drafted a constitution for the people of India. In 1931, in the Karachi session of the Indian National Congress, discussions took place on the constitution which should be framed for the country. All leaders agreed on the universal adult franchise, protection of the rights of the minorities, and right to equality to be guaranteed to the citizens. From this, we came to know about that the framing of constitution was not after our independence. This task was started before our independence in 1928, and in 1931 our great leaders they discussed about the constitution, the future constitution for India, and they agreed upon various things like universal adult franchise, protection of the rights of the minorities, and the right to equality to be guaranteed to its people. Then, the holding of elections in 1937 in all parts of British India and the passing of various acts of the Government of India helped the Indians to gain experience in the working of legislative assemblies and drafting of the constitution. The leaders of the country also drew inspiration from the American Revolution, French Revolution, and the practice of the parliamentary democracy in the Great Britain. And during the British rule, the elections in various parts of India and various acts passed by the British in India gave experience, and this experience was gained by our uh, political leaders, our various nationalists, our various uh, leaders, and they also they were inspired with the American Revolution, French Revolution, and the practice of the parliamentary democracy in Great Britain. The Constitutional Assembly. The Constituent Assembly was a body of elected representatives which drafted and framed the Constitution of our country. The elections to the Constituent Assembly were held in July 1946, and the first meeting was held in December 1946. The Constituent Assembly adopted the Constitution on 26 November 1949, but it came into effect on 26 January 1950. Thus, we celebrate 26 January as Republic Day every year. This Constituent Assembly, earlier we discussed this topic in our class 8th. The importance of this date, 26 January. Why our Constitutional Assembly adopted this date? Because of the importance of this date. On 26 January 1930, our Indian National Congress decided to celebrate this day as the Purna Swaraj, the complete Independence Day. That's why this was chosen by our Constituent Assembly. That's it for today. We will continue our lecture in our next class. And students, if anyone have any query related with any topic, then you can call me or you can send your query on my WhatsApp